Hello and welcome to another Bespin Global webinar in the Helping You Adopt Cloud series. We previously covered the areas of DevOps, security, and using the AWS well-architected framework to run your infrastructure in the cloud. Today we're going to be discussing something which has been popular recently with many of our customers, which is how you migrate and manage much of your Windows infrastructure in the cloud. Joining me to discuss this today, we have some of our team members again. Starting off with Mutesh Jaglil, who is our CEO and in Bespin Global MEA.
Thanks for having me.
We also have Firas Al-Hanuti, who is our Senior Account Manager.
Hi, Karen.
And last but not least, we have Yusuf, who is our Cloud Architect.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So to start the discussion, MC, where is Windows Server in terms of market share?
There has been an increase in open source operating systems becoming more and more used. But when we look at the numbers, Microsoft Server is still the Goliath of the server workloads. If I remember correctly, it was around 73% of workloads today are running on top of Windows operating system. Open source flavors are catching up, but it's still the dominator in the market.
Right. And how about Windows SQL Server? Is that comparable?
So SQL Server is also there, but it's not as popular, or let's say as dominant as the as the Microsoft Server OS. So when you look at the three top used database, for sure you've got Oracle, SQL Server, and MySQL. So it's definitely there, but not as big as the Microsoft Server one.
Right. And in terms of then running these in the cloud, how does that happen?
So customers, want to get all of the benefits of the cloud, whether that's we're talking about cost, reliability, speed, agility, all of that. So customers are considering, moving those workloads to the cloud. And what accelerated that more today is the pandemic, because they want to support their customers. They want to support even their, working from home employees running those workloads, and the cloud is the best fit to move them there.
Right. And yeah, working from home, I think, is definitely a big hot topic at the moment. So I think this trend is going to continue.
Absolutely. It's going to continue, whether that's because of the pandemic, whether that's because, the whole digital transformation subject that it's today on top of each CEO's agenda. Digital transformation is no longer the IT concern, it's the whole enterprise. So the pandemic, it's on the agenda. And at the same time, Microsoft is reintroducing a lot of their, top applications to be cloud native. They started with M365, totally new experience. SharePoint is now cloud native. And more workloads are being built to be run in the cloud as cloud native solutions.
Okay. So why AWS?
There is a lot, but AWS today, whether that's the massive presence all over the globe, how they introduced Microsoft workloads within AWS, the ecosystem of services that you can use to help you manage those workloads, all are attractive, features and benefits that our customers are, considering for using AWS to run their Microsoft workloads.
Right. So is there any difference from the end user's point of view in terms of on-prem versus cloud?
It's huge. So, with on-prem, let's talk maybe a little bit of numbers. Total cost of ownership, far more better. Developers' productivity, far more better. Security, ability to use features. I'll give you a very small example. Let's say you're today on-prem and you want to upgrade your monitoring system. The latest features are in. That's a project by itself. In the cloud today, all it takes is just refreshing your browser, and now you've got all of those functionalities. So it is totally a different game, and that's why we see cloud computing companies growing in billions each quarter. That's a massive growth, and it just is a clear state of how important that move is.
Yes, absolutely. So Firas, why is AWS a good choice for Windows specifically on the cloud?
Well, as we all know, AWS is the largest global infrastructure footprint in the worldwide, and for the sixth year in a row, AWS has been the top provider on the Magic Quadrant report. And when you talk about, if we talk about the features that AWS can give beside the other providers, we can start with the availability. With more than 24 regions in the market and more than 77 availability zones, this is gonna help you giving an insight of the kind of availability in the where no workload's gonna be down. When you talk about the features and functionalities that AWS is giving, it's far way better than any other providers in the market. The performance of the workloads when you upload your workloads from a traditional way to the AWS, from on-prem to AWS, or from another provider, where you can taste the flavor of AWS itself. Again, reducing the cost. Since we are speaking here about the SQL, bringing your own license is one of the features that AWS is giving you with more than 25% discount, speaking about SQL itself. Where if you want to talk about the Windows itself as OS and any other things related to Microsoft, you can get it pay as you go model. So customer will not be worried about getting the license by himself, like bring your own license. He'll just pay as you go, and that's it.
Right. And we saw it with our customers. So as Firas mentioned, less overhead, even the compliance or audit that, you need to go through with the on-prem to ensure your licenses are, as per Microsoft. You've got the features and functionalities that you mentioned. So today, even you can run, Dockers or containers on top of Windows virtual machines. You've got AWS System Manager, full management of your EC2 fleet, whether that's, ensuring the patch and upgrades are there, running commands remotely, logging securely. You've got AWS Inspector. In moments, you can have a full vulnerability assessment for all of your Microsoft Microsoft Windows virtual machines and your Linux machines all in one. So all of that gives flexibility and, far more quicker movement for our customers. Even encrypting disks on the cloud is just like 3 or 5, clicks, and now your VM disks are encrypted. That project might take, a year or a year and a half to do on-prem.
Yes, so security is definitely a huge focus. Yeah. So, Yusuf, what specific use cases do we have in terms of migrating Windows to AWS?
So, AWS is providing different use cases. I can recall 5 of them, such as dedicated host, Windows VM servers on AWS, SQL VM servers on AWS, and end of service support for both Windows and SQL, where the life cycle of that operating system is reach end of support with Microsoft, like 2003, 2008, where customers is being forced to either upgrade or migrate their workload. So if I go back to the dedicated host, where this is a unique offering for customers who are have a specific needs for security, and they want to bring the compliance, they want to bring their own eligible licensings to the cloud. So they need to stick to that dedicated size and specific.
So from the name, it's dedicated to you only. So it's
and the VMs where customer like to use the flexibility of the cloud, where they have the pay-as-you-go model and different sizing and the scale up, and also the instant spots for the pricing also, for both operating system, for the applications, and for the SQL database, where you still need control for the SQL. This is what VMs advise you. Now, for the end of support programs, AWS have a unique offering where they have the tools which help you to migrate current applications by packaging them and including the runtime and the dependency. So they make sure that if they move you from the legacy operating system to the new ones, they will keep running reliable and for a long time on AWS.
So it's kind of assessment. Yeah.
So this is something that will give another reason for our customer to move to the cloud.
Right.
Absolutely. So, if someone is interested in the end of service support, they can just go and Google, AWS EMP program, end of support migration program. Bespin Global is a premier AWS partner, and we're also a migration we hold the migration competency. And part of the migration competency is we have the proper training and access to those tools that helps our customers, migrate their end of support workloads to the cloud. As Yusuf was mentioning, so what happens is if you have an application that was specifically designed for 2003, 2008, it uses specific DLL libraries, all of that stuff, and you want to go, but that version is no longer available. Using those tools, you let's say containerize it or create like a virtual workspace for it, and you can move that workload. It will still work. It will use its specific DLL libraries and so on, while being hosted on a 2019 Microsoft, operating system. And that's one of the biggest showstoppers for today businesses moving to the cloud. I have a legacy application. It's no longer supported. What shall I do? Here's a solution. Use AWS program.
Right. So what are the core services that you would use from AWS for migrating to the cloud?
So it's vary from customer to customer, but AWS offer cloud technologies, which is come under the platform as a service, such as AWS for databases, and one of them is SQL,
right,
or Microsoft SQL.
This is RDS,
RDS, relational databases, and Active Directory as a managed services, file servers, Amazon FSx for Windows file servers, which is again a managed services for Windows file share, support also NTFS and integrated with Active Directory, and to help customers to manage their licensing. Also, they offer AWS Licensing Manager, which control all your licensing requirement either on-prem or the cloud.
Right. Great. So quite a lot of information there. You mentioned about how we have the migration certification with AWS. How else do we fit into the picture in terms of helping people migrate?
Absolutely. So the migration itself isn't just about moving the workloads. It is a full cycle that the customers need to change, whether that's we call PPT, philosophy, process, tools. You need to change. You need to have the change inside the organization, then adapt your processes and processes and procedures, and then moving it. And part of this, because we are a migration competency partner, we understand this. We've done it with a lot of customers. We have massive experience on how that should look like, how to execute it, what frameworks or what assessments or steps we need to take. And this ensures a smooth migration for the customer compared if they want to do it internally. I want to do this all by myself. It's not that easy. You need a partner that understands, that has done this job several times to help you to make it as smooth as possible.
Are
there specific strategies that we follow in terms of doing the migration?
Yes, there is 3 phases that we usually follow in our projects, starting from assessing the customer migration project, mobilizing the resources, and going with the migrate phase or modernization or the workload itself. So if I speak about assessing, we follow AWS Cloud Framework, where we assess the business, processes, people, platform, operation, and security. and we try to identify the gaps during that assessment, which will help us in the mobilization stage where we try to fill these gaps and build an operational methodologies to follow and plan that will help us in the migration phase to move large-scale VMs or even modernize the apps and utilize some of the AWS native.
Yes.
And to expedite here, for example, when we assess, part of the assessment is first of all discovering the workloads, discovering the dependencies, discovering what flow we should migrate to, and also how will that workload migrate to the cloud. So you've got several approaches here. You've got reallocating or lift and shift, as is, you take the workload. It works, but it doesn't give the customer the full advantages of the cloud. Then you can have other discussions, maybe replatforming it, changing how that application is working, maybe replacing it with a newer application or a newer version or X, Y, and Z. Absolutely. Or, just decommission it, which is the easiest to do. Yeah.
So Yusuf, MC mentioned the assess phase. Can you tell us a bit more about the mobilize phase?
Yes, where we take that output which come from the assessment phase, and we utilize it in building the foundational operation for the migration phase, where we identify what skills required during the migration and how we can accelerate the migration by making sure that all the required aspect is being considered in that phase. So once we are ready, then we go to the migration phase and start largely targeting workloads in a batches, where we move these workloads and securely reliable tuning. Of course, with the help of AWS technology, we monitor these workloads while moving them, and we make sure that customers during that process even have hands-on knowledge to carry on that.
And also leads
management.
into the modernization of that also.
Yes, of course. If in the Migrate itself, we choose either we move that workload as it's, or we modernize it by replacing it with some of the native services in AWS, like RDS, or managed services like Active Directory managed services.
Right.
Yes.
So do we have a recent example of a customer that we did this for?
As Bespin Global team, we have various customers. I recall one of them had a large footprint of servers, around 700. We have successfully moved them to the cloud, and since then they are happy with that output, and they reach their productivity, and the workload has been running in a highly manner.
Yeah, and even it's not only about big, large enterprises, as Yusuf mentioned. We've got one of our top customers. They're running their e-commerce website. I'd say the secret name TED. It's all based, on ASP technologies and SQL Server. It's all now hosted on AWS, and the beauty of that is we're using native AWS services to control that full Microsoft, workload, whether that's from security, patching and upgrading, all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I guess modernization does not just apply to infrastructure; it applies to people as well.
Yes, absolutely. How do you deploy your code? How do you secure your workloads? How do you manage that? All of it.
Great. So if a customer that's watching now wants to know more about how we could help them out with something like this, how would they do that?
It's easy. If they don't follow us on LinkedIn, it's a pleasure to be part of our partners. Let's say they can reach us by just sending us an email to info@bespinglobal.ae, and they can call us at 800 Bespin. It will be a pleasure to help them.
Great. Anything else either of you would like to add?
So I would mention, please consider a partner in your mass migration or massive migrations, because we'll be able to extend all of those tools and experience to you.
I believe cloud is here to stay, so get ready.
Make the most of it.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thanks very much for having this discussion today. Thanks for taking time out of your schedules. It was a pleasure. And thanks to everybody for tuning in at home. We hope it was worth your while watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.